Want to make these super cute granny square coasters? I'll show you how. Let's get started. Hey friends, I'm Laura with The Cozy Tree, where we make cozy goods and share biblical encouragement with others. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Today I'm going to give a walkthrough for how to make these pink bloom granny square coasters. The skill level for this pattern is beginner to intermediate. If you know the basic stitches involved and how clusters work, it's pretty simple. If you need a refresher on these stitches or you haven't learned some of them yet, you're in luck because I have an entire playlist with a full series on how to crochet for absolute beginners. You can check out that playlist on my channel or see the link in the description of this video. So let's get started on one of these coasters. Here are the supplies you'll need. You'll need 3 skeins or skeins of Lily Sugar and Cream, the original yarn, that's the small skeins. And you're gonna need 1 in Ecru, which is white, 1 in Tea Rose, which is light pink, and 1 in Tangerine, which is dark pink. I have them out of order. And then you'll also need a 5mm crochet hook, that's US size H 8. And then you'll just need a tapestry needle to weave in the ends. Note that these coasters do not take up much yarn at all, so you can make a whole bunch before you ever even use up a whole skein. I really like this Lily Sugar and Cream yarn because it's a bit sturdier than other worsted weight yarn. It feels like it'll hold up much longer than some, and it doesn't get all fuzzy or pill as easily. Here I actually have a pot holder that I made from Daisy Farm Crafts. It's a little stained from use, but I use it almost daily, and look how well that yarn holds up. It's not pilling, it's not all fuzzy. It's a little dirty, just from use, but this is from Daisy Farm Crafts. I can put a link to this pattern in the description as well if you're interested. They have some really cool stuff. So the US terms that are going to be used in this pattern are chain, CH, single crochet, SC, double crochet, DC, and slip stitch, SLST. I also will be doing these things in clusters, which I have a whole video just dedicated to those if you need help understanding that concept. But also I have videos on how to chain, single crochet, double crochet, and slip stitch. Those are all covered in my Crochet Basics for Absolute Beginners playlist on my channel if you need to review them. So I'm gonna start with the white yarn and we'll get going on one of these coasters. First, you're gonna need to make a magic circle. I'm not gonna go through it too slowly this time, but I will link a video that I find really helpful for this in the description. So I'm gonna make my magic circle, and then I'm gonna chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then I usually like to pull that little tail out just because it confuses me a little bit sometimes. All right, now I'm gonna 2 double crochet, 2 DC, double crochet 2 times into the circle. And that chain 3 is gonna count as the 3rd double crochet of this cluster. So 2 double crochets. There we go. This yarn's very sturdy, but it also sometimes has a little bit of trouble sliding. All right, so I've got basically a cluster of 3 double crochets. Now we're gonna chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're gonna do that cluster of 3 double crochets again. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's your second cluster of 3 double crochet. Now we're gonna repeat that chain 3 and then 3 DC 2 more times so that we have 4 clusters total. And it's gonna make like a little cross or an X. 1, 2, and 3. Lots of 3s in this. 1, 2, oops, and 3. Okay, and then the last one, chain 3, and then 1, oops, I dropped it, that's okay. 1, 2, and 3, and then we're gonna chain 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and then now we're gonna do a slip stitch, but before we pull through the slip stitch, I am going to kind of tug on this a little bit to close up that hole. Not all the way yet, but now I'm gonna pull in with the other color. I'm gonna switch it out with, let's do the dark pink for this video. So I'm gonna insert my hook to do the slip stitch, and then I'm just gonna pull in with this dark pink. And then just kind of tug on the white to tighten it more. This is the most nerve-wracking part, not nerve-wracking, but like it's the most delicate part for me, is like switching out the color and them not being like tied and secured yet. All right, now we're gonna chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're gonna turn our project around, and let's see, there we go. We're gonna 2 double crochet twice in this chain 3 space, so it'll be a 3 double crochet cluster, including that chain 3 that we did. Okay, so we have a cluster of 3. Oh wait, hold up, I kind of pulled that yarn in. I'm gonna undo that. Let's move you out of the way. All right, let's try again. That yarn could really go anywhere because we're gonna be cutting it anyway, so, and weaving in those ends. Okay, now we have that cluster of 3 double crochet. Don't worry about this little extra piece, we'll deal with that at the end. All right, now we're going to chain 3, and then we're gonna do a cluster of 3 double crochets in that same space again. That's gonna create our corner. So we're gonna do a cluster of 3 double crochet in the same space. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're going to chain 1. That's gonna create the space for the next row later. And then we're going to, in this corner here, we're gonna do the same thing we did here. We're gonna do a cluster of 3 double crochet, chain 3, and a cluster of 3 double crochet. And we're gonna do that in all 4 corners. So I'm gonna do it in this one, and then I'm gonna skip to the end just to save time. But you're gonna repeat this same thing in each of the 4 corners. Okay, and then we're gonna chain 1 again. So if you notice, there's always gonna be a chain of 3 on the corners and a chain of 1 between clusters that are not on corners along these edges here. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the end just to save time, but you're gonna repeat that same 3 double crochet cluster, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster, chain 1, and then do that on each of the corners. So I'll see you at the end of this row. All right, so I've gone around all 4 corners. You can see it's a cluster of 3 double crochet, chain 3, cluster 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then repeat all the way around until after that last cluster, you're gonna just do chain 1, and then we're gonna do a slip stitch back with the white again. So I'm gonna insert my hook, and then I'm gonna pull through with the white. I'm gonna go ahead and snip this real quick, just so I don't get all tangled up. And we will pull through with the white. Maybe. There we go. So now we're gonna chain 3 with our white, and we're gonna turn. So look at that, and I pulled this yarn in the middle to really tighten that hole, just because I don't like the hole in the middle being huge. It seems sloppy to me, but that's personal preference, I guess. So now we're going to do 2 double crochet in that gap there, that chain 1 gap from before. So, goodness, I keep getting all tangled here. There we go. I originally made these coasters for Valentine's Day, so it's been about 2 months since I last made one of these. But once you know how to make them, it's super easy. I'm just getting a little tangled up here for some reason. All right. So we are, oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Here is where we are going to follow a similar pattern to the previous row. There's just going to be an extra little cluster in there, I guess. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do the same thing we did on this corner, the 3 double crochet cluster, chain 3, 3 double crochet cluster. We're going to do it in this one. So oops, that's always going to be what you do in the corner, no matter what. That creates the squarish shape. Chain 3. And the last one for this spot. Okay, so as you can see, we made a new corner, and it's starting to cover up this to where this looks almost like a butterfly or heart or some flower petals. And then now what we're going to do is chain 1, do a cluster of 3, chain 1, and then do that corner again. So whenever you're going into one of these middle gaps here, here, and here, you're gonna do a chain 1, cluster, chain 1. And then on all the corners, we're gonna do the cluster, chain 3, cluster. So I will just real quick, chain 1, do a cluster of 3 so you can see. Hope that makes sense. And then we'll just do the corner like normal. So I'm gonna finish this row out, and I'll see you at the end of this row. Okay, so we've made it around to the other end, and I'm just gonna do one more, chain 1, and then we're gonna slip stitch and pull the pink through again, because now we're gonna move to our border. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim all of the extra yarn. I'm gonna do the white and the pink because we are done with the white. So I'm gonna just take this white out of the way, and we'll pull in with the pink. There we go. Sorry, I pulled it out of frame because I was really focused. All right, now we are not going to turn our yarn or our project. We're just gonna chain one and don't turn. Okay, now we're going to single crochet in every stitch and chain space all around the edge, but we're gonna add 2 extra single crochets into the corners so that it doesn't make them curl up. So I'm just gonna go all the way around. I'm gonna single crochet in the stitch I just chained from first. And then we're just gonna go around. We're gonna go in those gaps. And let me show you this corner. So basically, we're gonna do 5 single crochets in this corner because there were 3 chains and we need to add 2 extra. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And sometimes it gets a little wonky. I'll put one in this like stitch here to be number 5. It doesn't have to be exact as long as it just looks right. Should even out. Because see, I only went through 2 stitches there, but there's 3 double crochets, so I have to kind of go in this little gap here to account for that stitch. Come on. And I guess I stitched it too tight. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, and then we'll just keep going around. So I will meet you back over here. All right, so I've gone all the way around. The edges are a little wonky. That is normal. That's just how it looks until we're done. So I'm going to slip stitch the final stitch into here and I'm going to fasten off, which means I'm just gonna pull it through and I'm gonna snip that and oops, pull that through. And then we can go ahead and weave in the ends. So I'm just gonna kind of tighten everything. And then get my tapestry needle. So since the stitches are kind of facing me this way and they look upside down this way, this is gonna be the back of our coaster. So some of these are already, I'm just gonna tie them in a knot because this is a coaster. You're gonna be setting drinks on it. The bottom doesn't really matter as much. I'm pretty chill when it comes to weaving in ends and tying things off. If it's not gonna show, I don't mind just tying some knots and snipping those instead of actually having to weave them all in. So those ones are done. Let's just cut those real quick. Again, that's kind of personal preference. I mean, if you're gonna be selling these, you would probably do a neater job. These I just made for our house. I have 2 little ones. They like to play with these, use them for their play kitchen and stuff like that. So I'm not too picky about how neat it looks, but we are gonna go ahead and take these ends and weave them through the back so that all the knots and ends and everything are on the other side. So I'm just gonna pull that through. And then we'll pull these 2 through, and I will kind of wrap that one through as well. So let's do this one. And I'll see you at the end of this. All right, so after weaving in all the ends, that is it. I'll show you the lighter color one as well. And if your coasters seem a bit wonky, kind of like these do, and they're not super squarish by the end, you can block them, which is when you get them wet or damp, and then you pin them to some cardboard or a fancy blocking board or whatever you have, and you can have it sit like that, dry overnight, and it helps the stitches to relax, and it kind of helps them go into the shape you want. These are some of my favorite coasters I've ever made because the pink is bright, but the white balances it out, so it's not too overwhelming. It's not, you know, bright hot pink in your face. And it also kind of looks like hearts or flower petals. That's why I made them for Valentine's Day. My kids think they kind of look like butterflies, which I could also see. Little butterfly wings. But these are great for your own home, to give as little gifts. Use with your kids to play like mine do. You know, they work up really quickly. And the whole pattern is free on my blog, the whole written pattern, if you want to see it written down. And then this video is also in that blog post. And my blog is thecozytree.co. I'll put a link to that in the description below. And remember that I make all sorts of videos on crochet tutorials, Bible study ideas, motherhood topics, and more. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you in the next video. God bless. Bye.